What is going on, Diesel Nation? On today's episode, we're going to go for round 2 with Matt from Alligator Performance, and he's coming on today to talk about one of the UCC live builds. So this year what they're doing is they're taking a 6.7 Cummins and a F-150 with a 3-liter Powerstroke, and they're going to upgrade them live at the show. So if you're there, you're going to be able to watch it, or on any of the live feeds, and they're throwing on a ton of different products. And one of the ones, or actually a couple of the products we really wanted to talk to him about today on his 6.7 Cummins is he's going to be running a BD 68 RFE and a Fleece drop-in lift pump. And so we wanted to get his feedback on, why did he choose these products? What are some of the benefits to it? And how's the rest of the build coming together? What's he going to do for wheels and tires and suspension and all these different things? So they're building a truck that I think most diesel owners would want. If you're going to be towing, we're using the truck for work, daily driving, this is what you would definitely want to do to your 2018, 2019 6.7 Cummins. So it's going to be cool to hear about this truck, and then also the F-150, which it's new on the market. It's hitting in a different kind of demographic and a different kind of use, but we want to pick their brain on that as well. So we want to thank BD Diesel for helping make this episode possible, and also Fleece Performance. So make sure to go to dieselperformance.com. You can check out BD's transmission lineup, their rebuildable torque converters, their turbo kits, tons of different things that they have. And then also fleeceperformance.com. The drop-in lift pump system that they have, it's got a lifetime warranty. The install is so much simpler than the frame-mounted kits. It's just the amount of time you can save doing this at home, or if you take it to a shop, is incredible. So make sure you check it out. If you're looking to make 800 plus horsepower, this is a kit that you need to get. It's simple, it works. It's from the guys at Fleece. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time, so check them out. All right, let's get to the podcast with Matt from Alligator Performance and learn more about the UCC live builds.
This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
This is Dan, owner of Dan's Diesel Performance.
I'm Cass from Diesel Doctor of Tennessee, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
Matt, it is fantastic to have you for round 2 of the Diesel Podcast. Last time we talked about your 5.9 and like when you got it and the way you modified it and everything, but today we've got a new truck, a new build to talk about, and we're excited to have you on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Yeah, it was pretty recent that I think I saw on Instagram, or maybe Facebook, that you've got Operation Snowflake. And so I wanted to have you tell us about the truck and let our listeners know what you got and what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so on one of the previous podcasts, we talked about my 06 5.9 Cummins that basically kind of built from the ground up. It was my first diesel. Made some short-term goals in horsepower ranges and ended up getting 800 horsepower and kind of just left it. It was a solid tow truck at that point. It wasn't breaking, so I was really happy with it. And but having that truck for I think almost 7 or 8 years now, and finally was ready for an upgrade. So I still have the truck actually right now, but really wanted something new, something that rode really nice. I don't know if it's the old age thing or something, but I want the leather interior, something that had all the fancy bells and whistles, the controlled everything, the screen on the dash, all that stuff. So end up picking up a 2018 Ram 6.7 with a 68 RFE tranny in it. The Laramie, basically all the bells and whistles, the sports package. So it's all color matched. Grill was white. The steps, everything was color matched white. And then just kind of planned on leaving it stock. Actually, is kind of one of those I got my fun out of the 06 and was just gonna kind of leave this as a good daily driver and kind of just my tow rig for my trailer. So. That didn't last very long. I think I was maybe 5 or 6 months into it and decided, what, stock is boring and let's go ahead and start playing.
Nice. So with this build, like from before we had talked about, and I think it happens with all of us is we just want a little more, and then it snowballs into an engine build, transmission build, compounds, changing up the compounds, different injectors, all that kind of stuff. Did you go into this build looking at it a bit different and saying, I know exactly where I want to be, and that's what I'm going to build it to from the start?
Not really. Truly, I was thinking I'm going to leave this stock, maybe emissions compliant, and maybe a couple years down the road, I'll throw some compounds in there just to help out with a little extra towing power. Not even touch fueling. I might do a lift pump, but leave stock injectors and stock CB3s, and don't want to really have to touch that 68 RP since they're kind of a pain in the ass transmission. But really, what kind of snowballed this whole deal is it was the Ultimate Callout Challenge. And not that I would compete with this truck by any means, but it was kind of one of those things at SEMA. When you go to SEMA next year, you want to one-up yourself. You want to stand above the rest. And so we decided to change our booth, our big booth, right there in the front of the Ultimate Callout Challenge, and wanted to, bring more interaction with customers and kind of a spotlight there. So let's just do a live truck build there. And, we'll put platforms like, well, I guess mine's completely stock. We might as well just go ahead and do that one. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. We went from, doing, 4-inch lift kit, 35-inch tires, work on doing front and rear bumpers, grills, steps, some interior stuff, floor liners, whatnot. And then, just kind of started to tilt on the performance side of things. We, still want to keep it emission compliant, so we were going to do like a DPF back exhaust system by MagnaFlow, but still wanted some good performance and power. So we hooked up with ATS and doing their Vortex 5000 compound kit and their twin CP3 kit, which we're pretty excited about. We just got that going here earlier this week. And with that factor, you have the transmission issue. I was really afraid of having to spend some big money on a built transmission, and but BD popped out of the woodworks and said they'd help me out with that. So I'm pretty excited to have a built transmission that'll be able to hold this power, and evolve the fueling and stuff. Doing the Fleece Performance PowerFlo lift pump, the intake assembly that they just came out with, and then industrial 100 horsepower injector. So this is kind of one of those things that, same thing, it evolved into a lot more than what I really wanted to do, but it's getting all the right parts in there to be able to hold the horsepower and make it really reliable.
I think that's probably where most truck owners fall, as far as what they want to do to it. If we make a wish list on a brand new truck, would probably be exactly what you just listed. I wanted to ask you about the Fleece lift pump because I know they've released it. It's really popular, and if some of our listeners have messaged in with questions, they're like, "Hey, get the Fleece guys on," which we are working on that. But I wanted to ask you from your perspective, what does the Fleece lift pump allow you to do, say putting it on your truck or for your customers, that you really like?
I do like that it's a drop-in pump. Most pumps you have to drop the tank anyway to get to the send unit, and this is just a swap out. It has two OEM style pumps that are in the bucket of the send unit, so it's jumping up to that 170 gallon per hour and good for a truck going for 800 horsepower. And I know I'm going to be under 800 with this build, and so that's going to be a perfect for that. Being inside the tank too, you don't get any of the noisy humming you typically get with an external frame-mounted pump. And then the wiring harness that comes with it, it's simple. It's just those two piggyback, plugs that go in the top of the factory wiring harness, and then you run a relay up to the battery. And that's it. You're not running new fuel lines or anything. It can be a quick install. And that's kind of one of those things with this whole build is that we're building this truck from completely bone stock to, this badass tow rig, 4-inch, 35s, compounds, injectors, head studs, twin CP3s, bumpers, grill, all this stuff, and we're doing it in 3 days. And, so a lot of that kind of had to be like install time, ease, I don't want our mechanics that are going to be there having to, mess with something that's going to take them 5-6 hours to do. And some of the big things like the 4-inch lift kit, we're going to, do in advance because that's like an 8-10 hour job. So a lot of it is time restriction as well. But the Fleece kit all the way around is just a badass lift pump, and excited to see what it does. It's back with a lifetime warranty. So I shouldn't ever have to use it, but if I ever run into something, it is covered by Fleece. So pretty excited about that.
I really like that angle for the build of how quick you can get it installed, because a lot of a lot of truck owners are doing the work themselves. They're doing it on the weekend, got some friends over or something. And I know I've been a part of some weekend builds with friends, and it's like, if we could get it all done in 2 days or 3 days, that's really cool versus, if it extends till Monday and it affects going to work or something like that, then it's a pain. So it's really cool that you're doing it that way to show that you can get this performance in a quick time frame.
Yeah, and we're pretty excited about the guys that are working on it. We have Hunter Inman over at Sick Nasty Diesel Performance out of Maryland, Kentucky, and then Matt Fraley, another one of his guys from Widowmaker Diesel out of Urbana, Pennsylvania. And so they're going to be, they'll have 3 guys basically working on the Cummins. And then we also brought in a secondary truck for, I guess we just like making things complicated, but we ended up bringing in another platform, that 2018 Ford F-150 with a 3-liter Powerstroke in it, which is not only a new platform for us, but a new platform for the diesel industry. This is the first 3.0 Powerstroke that Ford's used in an F-150 platform. And so it's new to us and new to everyone else. So we're working with a lot of high caliber manufacturers in the industry to bring out new parts that, was never out there for this. So it's been a kind of a delay on some things because it takes, quite a bit of R&D and testing time to be able to get parts to us. But, with this F-150, it's kind of that same thing of like, build it within a 3-day period and do something that is kind of a spotlighted, different from everybody else type of deal as well. So that's kind of rolling another little snowball effect for itself. And, doing the, same concept, doing, lift kit, wheels, tires, front and rear bumper, doing a sport hood, it kind of evolved. At first, it was just going to be a standard truck build, but we wanted to do something a bit different. So we ended up wanting to do like a chaser truck style, Baja. It seemed like after I came back from SEMA, there was some really cool builds there that I kind of stuck on, and but they were all kind of that Baja, BJ Baldwin style look and everything. So I was like, all right, well, let's do something like that. And we're, changing those F-150 fenders and going to do a set of Raptor fenders in the front and rear, and then we can do kind of, some bigger offsetted wheels. And it's not going to be sticking out much past the fender well to, sling rocks along the side of a black body truck. And then we can, give that a little more of a stance, bigger tires. And being those bigger wheel wells, we're going to do bigger tires on that as well. So we're thinking that, doing the Raptor fender flares with a 4-inch lift kit, 37-inch tires with probably some 20 by 12 wheels on that. And then do the chaser truck, rack in the rear, and kind of just give it that kind of a bulldoggy chaser truck theme. So that was going to be exciting as well.
That's a really cool new platform that you mentioned. I had chatted with Corey Willis not long ago about tuning that truck and getting his impressions on it. And I think it's cool to see Ram, Ford, and GM take that the diesel benefits or the torque and things that it's known for to that half-ton platform where, a lot of guys, you might have a 3/4 ton that's used for work or hauling stuff, but you want something to drive around and, get good fuel economy with. Don't necessarily need a ton of power, but if you want to add it, you can. There's a lot of companies working on parts for it.
Absolutely. Really cool. Yep, absolutely. That 3.0 is, I think it's like 220 horsepower and 440 foot-pounds of torque. So it's not a bad little truck, especially with the weight that it is, and it is, a little more compact than what we're used to in the full-size truck. And so adding a little extra power is going to be a big deal. We are working with Corey Willis on tuning for it, and then just doing some other little performance gains. Anything helps on those trucks. I mean, when you're jumping an extra, 50, 80, 100 horsepower on something that small, you're going to feel it. And so, doing simple things like the S&B cold air intake they just released for it. We've worked with Diamond Eye Exhaust, through their R&D program. That was one of the companies that we work with side by side to design R&D and then get the first exhaust system they built for that. It's not even a release part number, and it should be here, I'd imagine, in the next few weeks, it sounds like, after talking to them here this previous week about it. And then doing some tuning, working with a couple companies to figure out a turbo upgrade, and just some monitoring systems. And so being able to bump that up just a little extra horsepower is going to be a good add to that build.
I just thought of a question with these two builds that you mentioned, and you've been with Alligator Performance for a long time. You've seen all the trends, and you had mentioned leaving the emissions on. And I wanted to ask you for your opinion. What does the Diesel Performance aftermarket offer now for trucks where you can leave all the emissions on but still get power and performance, where like back in '08, early '09, it's like you can't do anything with them. It's you can't run the emission stuff on it. But I know there's a lot of things you guys see, and you guys are experts on that, of what can you do with these newer trucks and leave the EGR and DPF on.
Yeah, back in the day, '08, 10, 11, even 13, 14, it was simple to say just delete it, get rid of it, bring it back to the older platform that we're used to, and then we'll go ahead and dump all the horsepower that we want after that. As things kind of harden with EPA and CARB and everything, it's really pushed the diesel industry to build performance parts to work with factory emissions. And so it's kind of opened up new doors, and it's pretty exciting actually to see what kind of horsepower and what kind of things that these hard parts manufacturer companies and tuning companies can actually do to make something reliable, use less fluid and still get decent mileage out of it. And I've seen a few trucks now with this same build I'm doing with my Ram, and making 650 horsepower with stock emissions on it still. So it's catalytic converter, DPF filter, the depth tank, all that's still on it. EGR system still working. We're doing compounds, bigger injectors, good lean tuning on it, and making 650 horsepower. So it's much beyond that. It still maybe has some evolving to be able to do much more than that. Guys are trying to make 1,000 horsepower. I don't think that technology is quite there yet, because there's a lot of airflow issues that pop into that. But for the common guy, the majority of the market, the guys that are wanting to make an extra 100, 200, 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower over stock, that technology is finally here. So that's pretty exciting to be able to, it's not probably under warranty anymore once you start doing all this stuff that we're talking about here, but at least you're compliant and you're not going to get in trouble.
I think the truck, when I heard of what was starting to be done with it in the aftermarket, where I stopped, and I was like, damn, we've come a long way, is with the L5P, with how much power you can get out of it with just a tune. I mean, you're not getting into a lot of the other things that you had to on older trucks. And I think, like the 6.7 Powerstroke, the 6.7 Cummins, the things that are able to be done with tuning and just small upgrades here and there is really cool, and leaving all the components on the truck and complying with federal emission laws and all those sorts of things. I think it's really nice. Is for so long, like you said, it was just, well, rip it off, just take it off, and
absolutely, yeah.
It's not really viable any longer. And I think to see all these different companies put their skills and their visions together to be able to make these builds that you're doing with the Cummins and the Powerstroke, it's a really exciting time in diesel. It hasn't peaked yet, but it's like we can tell that it's starting to really accelerate, and so it's fun to watch.
Absolutely, it's been leaps and bounds in the technology side of things in the past, I'd say even 3 years. With tuning, it's been huge. We have a 6.7 Powerstroke here, and just with a tune, I mean, making 550 horsepower on it, stock emissions. With Chad's truck, the owner here, and he did bigger tires, bigger wheels and tires and everything, and then just some accessories and just the tune. And it's a badass truck. It's very solid and a great daily driver. Tows great. Temperatures are where they need to be. Not using too much fluid, depth fluid. It's the mile per gallon is great. So why mess with something that's working? It's the go-to of deleting it nowadays isn't necessarily the go-to anymore. So that's kind of one of the focuses of both these builds actually, is leaving the emissions on it, because we can make a badass truck that performs well, looks good, and can tow heavy and make good mileage, and use less depth fluid. And I mean, why not just keep it?
Exactly. Yeah, and I was thinking back to the old days of like you being on forums and stuff, and people be talking about going to hardware stores and getting resistors and playing with stuff. And I'm like, man, it's come a long way since those days.
A long way. Yeah.
Now, when You'd mentioned, you guys are doing the suspension and the things right now, but when does the live build start?
So it's going to start the very first day of the UCC DPI Expo event in, what's that, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So we have basically getting kind of scheduled out of what we're doing per day. And because we have kind of a kicker in there, because we have a local wrap company, CW Wraps, out of Post Falls, Idaho, that we're flying them out with us, and they're going to be doing wraps on these trucks at the same time. So we're working with our guys, Hunter Inman and Matt Fraley, and then the second truck, the Ford, the 3.0 Powerstroke, is getting built by the mechanics over at Fleece Performance. So we're working with those two teams to figure out what parts we can install at what day that won't interfere with, 4 guys on a truck doing a full, wrap on this. So it's a lot of stuff going. There's going to be no slow times with either one of these builds. They're going to be in our booth, next to each other. We're probably going to have I think we talked to you about, having you out there doing some podcast stuff, kind of interacting with the crowd, asking questions. Bringing on manufacturers that say BD's transmissions going in, because we're installing transmission live there at the event. And while their transmission's going in, we'll bring, Brian Roth or Chris or one of those guys from BD to come over and talk with the crowd, talk with you, talk with the cameras, and, talk about their transmission and what's going into this truck, why, how it performs, what stage, what level, and kind of explain the product line. So we're going to do that with, I think on the Operation Snowflake that Cummins build, I think we have about 20 manufacturers on that one, maybe even more, 25 manufacturers. And the Project Brimstone, or that 3.0 Powerstroke's got probably 15 manufacturers on that one so far. And all these guys that we're working with are all in that DPI Expo. So excited to be able to have those guys come out to talk about their portion of the truck build.
That is what is really cool about, UCC is cool in and of itself with the competition and the power and the torque that's there. But I think with this live build, what's so awesome is, like you mentioned, is your truck's going to be there, a BD 68 RFE is going in, someone from BD is going to be there, and the interaction between the build and the crowd, whether they're there or on social media or a live feed or something like that, to be able to see that come together, I think it connects the products and the upgrades to the truck owners out there in a new and different way. And it's really exciting. We're really excited to be able to talk with you today and talk with some of the companies and the competitors and everything like that to help do that, because I think it makes the diesel community stronger. And the more that we know, the more we know about products and installs and feedback, the stronger everything is for everyone, and being able to bring new people in. There's going to be people watching this, or that their friend, kind of pulls them along, and they're not really into diesels, and they're going to see these trucks and see these companies and the people and say, wow, I think maybe I want a diesel truck. Maybe I want to do something to it. Maybe, I want to go get a Cummins, Duramax, or Powerstroke. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
For our listeners out there that want to see the truck now, or where it was before when it was going to stay stock, to what you're doing now in the future, where can they follow the build?
So, I got my Facebook page, my personal Instagram page, Matt_Chambers 6.7. That's kind of where I do the instantaneous open a box, take a picture, I throw it up right then and now. But all this stuff will be shown on the Alligator Performance Facebook and Instagram page, and then the Alligator Performance YouTube channel. And that's where we have our video series. I think we have 10 videos posted right now, and have another 6 in the background that'll be scheduled out. And then we still have a bunch more to shoot on these 2 trucks. So all that information is getting slung out there on a handful of different channels. When we're actually at the event, we're going to have some live feeds that we'll be posting up to Facebook Live. And then we'll be doing some video stuff that will continue on with our video series even after the event's done and over with. And then, of course, we will have you out there, doing your thing, talking with the crowd, doing some podcast stuff out there as well. And then you had their a lot of the competitor stuff, a lot of the DPI Expo, and then bringing both these builds into it as well.
Nice, man. I am pumped. I'm ready for May.
It's been quick, that's for sure. We started this project middle to end of the summer, and it's been hard work up to this point, and now we kind of start seeing that light at the end of like, man, we're getting close to crunch time. Like we need to finish this up. So
I'm really excited for the build. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing, and we look forward to being able to tell the stories from now till then and after then about it. And I appreciate your time today and letting us in on what you guys are working on and these really unique builds on these new trucks.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, diesel fans, if you're in the market for an upgraded transmission for towing, daily driving, even race applications, go to dieselperformance.com and you can search Dodge, Ford, or GM, and there's tons of different options that you can select for billet shafts, stall speeds on the converter. And as Christian from BD mentioned on a previous podcast we have, they're dyno testing the torque converter with the transmission, which is unique, and it's something that helps ensure that when you get the product, they've been tested together, they know they work, the performance is exactly how they want it. So just go to dieselperformance.com, check it out. And also, if you're looking for an upgraded fuel system, which if you're a performance guy, you're going to be running bigger tunes, you're going to want to do injector CP3 or an upgraded CP4 turbo kit, you're going to need to be able to get that fuel from the tank to the injection pump. And the Fleece kit is the nicest on the market. I mean, the way it installs is simple, the price is right, it's got a lifetime warranty, you can't beat it. Go to fleeceperformance.com, you check out the lift pump kit, order it right off the site or any of their dealers, and you get them pretty quick. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.